All right, guys, this is it. This is the first episode. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the standard by her. Her being me, but me being someone I'm hoping to represent for you to see a little bit of me and yourself to empower you. And we're going to start with my story. Well, a little piece of my story. And how my story started with me looking for permission to do the things that my heart was set on, and walking around all shallow and scared, like Courage the Cowardly Dog, and being confident in my capability, but doubting myself because I needed others' validation to reach my full potential. And I didn't start to understand that until I got towards the end, or as I get closer to the end of my career. It started way back 2012 when I initially joined the Air Force. I was security forces. If anybody knew me at that time, if anybody can tell you earlier about my time, about my work ethic, I always looked to be the best in whatever I did. I was always competitive. I was always driven. On the fitness scale, like, I had to be the best female. No matter where I went, I didn't want any female to be stronger than me or faster than me or beat me in anything. I always looked, especially every PT test came on, made sure I was the number one female, and then I made sure I beat some of the males. So that's always been a standard for me. Life happened, young and dumb. 4 years later, I find myself in the Army. I will say this, you never know what God puts on your heart. You never know why you end up in places that you do. But in 2014, around 2015, I actually became aware of the infantry. And I just had a little bit of knowledge about them. But apparently, and I quote, those people were lost. Those guys, because at the time, around 2014, women were not in the infantry yet. And I was like, anybody should be able to be reached. It wasn't until 2016 that combat jobs opened up to all females. I've always wanted a combat job, but it wasn't until 2016 that it was opened up. And funny story, I went into the recruiter's office in Santa Maria, California, 6 months pregnant with my second child, and I was like, I want to join the infantry. And they looked at me like I was crazy. They're like, yeah, sure, whatever. People come in, say what they want. I came back, I think not even 6 weeks after I had my second child, and I was like, I want to join the infantry. I went through so many waivers because of my age, because of my prior service, because I had 2 kids and I was married to a service member. There were so many things I had to do to get into the infantry, which is hilarious because if you know, the infantry's ASVAB score is really low, so it's not that hard to get into. It's one of actually the easiest jobs to get into. Everybody talks about it's so hard. It's hard. Like actually just showing up, you hit one standard when you join the military, and then that's it. So I was always finding it funny when people are like, oh, I chose the infantry. So that was like another one. I chose to be there. Physically, no problem getting in. Basic training, no problem. I had no problem getting to the standard and meeting it. When I first joined, we had the regular APFT, push-ups, sit-ups, and a 2-mile run. As I'm getting close to now 8 years in the Army, it's the AFT. It changed so many times. But I've always pushed myself, especially being in the infantry, to not just go after the female standard. Now I won't lie and be like, I maxed out the male standard. No, I have not. But I've always pushed myself to go to the male standard, so my peers could always see me as an equal, that I wasn't the slug on the group, And no matter where I went, my first duty station was Fort Hood, and I was like, I don't care, I'm going to be the best. I'm going to be the best. I'm going to be faster. I'm going to be stronger. And I wasn't always the best, but no one was going to outwork me no matter what I did. I was always going to try harder. I went after Soldier of the Month. I got number 1 at BLC. I left active duty because I was just over it, severely disappointed with my experience. But I always thought the hardest thing I would have to face while being in the infantry was people not accepting me because they believed that I wouldn't meet the standard. What I've come to realize is that even though I met the standard and exceeded the standard and beat a majority of males, some people were just uncomfortable with me just because they already decided they were. Personal reasons, non-personal reasons. I would get done with the PT test and I would score well in the 80th percentile, 85th percentile on the male score. And before people I wouldn't even know of, they wouldn't even be in my company, come talking to me, oh, you only scored that because you had the female score. It's like, no, dog, I scored that on your scale. So you suck on your scale. I'm better than you on your scale. And people were always trying to compete with me. Like, I wasn't going after anybody's spot. That's one thing about the military. You don't have to fight for a spot. If you do your time long enough and you do what you have to do, you will eventually be a team leader, a squad leader, an NCO. Like, there's no vying for that position. The Army, trust me, the Army is not overmanned. But people were always competing with me, always wondering what I'm doing. What'd you score? What'd you get? And I'm like, dude, I'm not in competition with you. But I kept holding myself back or changing my expectations to figure out what they would do to accept me. And it's crazy because there are people that accepted me from day one. They're like, as long as you do your job, I don't care what you have in between your legs. Just do your job. And I respect those people. I've never had an issue with a lot of people. It was the same insecure, fragile egos. And I'm going to say it was males because I'm in the infantry. There's probably less than 200 females in the infantry across all the military, within the Marines or the Army. Don't quote me on that. Fact check. However, it's very frustrating because I'm always having to prove myself. People are like, oh, you're infantry, you're an E6? Oh, did you reclass and you have your rank? Oh, you started from the bottom? Yes, I started as a PV2 in the infantry. I started like the slums, like everybody else, doing HAY-U tests, sweeping the motor pool, doing whatever I was told to do, getting smoked just like everybody else. That all happened, you know what I mean? Or because I was in a platoon of the infantry, like, oh, are you the medic? Are you the scout? No, dog, I'm infantry. I got more balls than you. You don't have to question me because you feel insecure in yourself. And I really hated that. And it really played a lot on my mental because I kept telling myself that I wasn't enough because I was never going to be accepted by them. And I was still doing what I had to do. And I told myself if I got my EIB, if I got Ranger, if I deployed, if I achieved all these accolades, I would finally be one of them. And I knew deep in my heart that wouldn't have mattered. And what a giant revelation came when Sergeant Major Janina Simmons came out, the first female Black Ranger. She recently retired and she found out she had stage 4 cancer, I believe. She's achieved everything the Army's asked of her and more, has beaten men on every scale. She's gotten her tab, she's gotten ESB, she's deployed, she's did all these different competitions. She is what the Army expects her to be, and she still got so much hate from it. And people are like, oh, you had it easy, you did this, you did, and I'm like, dude, like, are you kidding me? She did exactly what the Army expects her to do, and she still gets all this hate. And then she has cancer, and the Army's like, it's too bad, so sad. And it was at that moment that I had that revelation. I was like, you know what, not anymore. Not anymore am I going to keep succumbing myself to these expectations of people who could really give a damn about me at the end of the day. Let's be clear. I might get on their nerves, I might make them feel insecure, but they're going to move on. They're not going to care the stress I put on my body, the time I spend away from my family. And that's another thing. Like, it is harder to be a female in a combat job, and I'll tell you why it's hard. You chose this, all right? Most men don't consider their families when they're in these combat roles. That role and responsibility lies on their significant other. They sit up, their wives or girlfriends have babies, and they go out and train X amount of times and come home and kiss and shake hands. They don't do a majority of that stuff. And thankfully, I have a husband that helps me with that. But I am a mom and I still have a role to play. I am not a part-time parent. I'm a full-time mom and a full-time worker. So yes, I am not able to spend X amount of time in the gym, X amount of time. And yes, I do take my family into consideration. That's another thing. I've had 3 children. I've been in shape, gotten out of shape, and gotten right back into shape, and still have beat people. So what does that say about someone who's never had a child? And I'm able to do that every time. And then again, I haven't gone to Ranger. That is my personal but when a woman or anybody chooses to go to Ranger, but a woman specific, because since they're under so much heat right now because the standards or whatever, there are plenty of men that have gone to Ranger and have washed out, and their hair is shaven because people just think that's what they've done. When a woman's head is shaved, they think they went through a mental crisis or are sick. When a woman chooses to shave their head for Ranger, that is a physical representation of their failure. Nobody wants to walk around like that just for fun, for no DEI. As Sergeant Major Simmons said, we don't care about that. You know, the standard's always higher for us. The expectation's always higher for us. And we're not allowed to fall short. Again, as if it's a privilege to do the things that many people already aren't stepping up to do. You know what I mean? I'm tired of us asking for permission when you have the capability to walk in a space and dominate it. Stop asking for permission, because some people will never give you permission. You're gonna have to take your seat, and you're gonna have to sit in it like you carved it your damn self, because you probably are gonna have to, because no one's gonna offer you a seat, because they may not want you at the table or in the room to begin with, because they think you're lucky to breathe the air that they breathe. You gotta be indispensable. You got to be. When I was in, people would find anything to pick to get on me. And I would go talk to this mentor of mine and be like, dude, like, they're trying to get on me for anything. She was like, all right, cool. Don't give them anything to talk about. Be so good and be so well at what you do that the only thing they can talk about is talk behind your back. Because they can't call you out on your job. They can't say you don't know this. They can't say you didn't do this because you're so good. So they can't say anything to your face. You can't wait for them to welcome you, because they may never welcome you. And I learned that. And I wish I learned that early on, because I probably would have catapulted myself a lot further and dreamed a lot bigger than just right here. Because all those people, they're still right here. I never even thought about that. People that I'm so worried about their expectations, they're not stacked. Their ribbon rack is not stacked high. The people I admire that mentor, they are humbled and they have the credentials and they don't act like that. And it's always the people that are barely making it, that just made the cut, that got something to say, that want to gatekeep. Not over here. Not anymore. We're not asking for permission anymore. We're learning the standard, we're perfecting it, and then we're exceeding it. And whatever that may mean for you is different, you know, but we're no longer asking for permission. We're no longer wondering if we're welcome or if there's a spot for us. I'm gonna tell you right now, there's probably not a spot for you if you haven't found it by now. And if there's not, so what? Do we cry about it? Do we talk about how it's not fair? Oh well, we bear children, they don't. We have 9 months, we have to, after holding a child, we have to get back in shape. They don't. We feel more obligated to our families, they may not. Deal with it and move on. But I'm telling you, you can. You can. First thing you gotta do though, is stop asking for permission. Own your spot. Walk into your capabilities. And if you're not capable enough right now, get there. So all they'll have left to do is talk behind your back, because they won't have the balls to say it to your face. I look forward on growing with you guys. I look forward to interviewing and getting into the minds of other influential and strong, independent women that are just dominating them wherever they're at, whether they're a stay-at-home mom or a combat pilot, all right? Please follow me on this journey. All right, see y'all later.